and I'm honored to be today's Mission Moment speaker. I'm a registered architect, and I've worked in the construction industry for 28 years. I was diagnosed with MS when I was 27, and that was 27 years ago. I've lived half my life with this disease. You have MS. There's no cure. You should get a cane and stay out of the heat. That's what my first neurologist told me before he sent me on my way. I was angry at my diagnosis, and I thought my life was over. When I found a new neurologist at an MS care center, my body was numb from the waist up, and my balance was poor. I also had nystagmus, which caused my pupils to jump around. I used to call it drunken vision, because everything I saw moved, even though it was still. When asked to speak at this event, I realized how hard I had worked to hide my disease. I didn't want special treatment, and I didn't want to be held back in my career. I had my first exacerbation in 1992, working as a resident engineer for the Parks Department. People warned me that my disease was not conducive to work out in the field. Someone told me, get an office job. Nobody wants a cripple on a construction site. I was determined to succeed in my chosen path. I worked hard, but I worked even harder trying to look like I did not have an illness. I was a project manager for Tishman during the last 16 years of my career, focused on landmark renovations. In 2016, I completed the $13 million restoration of New York Public Library's Rose Reading Room. The space was as big as a football field, and most of the work occurred on a platform, or dance floor, as we say in the field, 40 feet above the ground. I spent 2 years climbing scaffold towers and walking catwalks in the attic space. I had every OSHA scaffold card available in New York City, and I was probably the last person that should have been on a scaffold. I've struggled with MS symptoms like fatigue. I've dropped more things than the average person, and I've broken a few cell phones. It was a relief when I found a tether for my phone. I always wrote into the trades contracts that anyone working overhead had to have their tools tethered to avoid dropping and hitting people below. Today, my phone tether is part of my daily wardrobe. MS doesn't give you one problem at a time. My balance suffered too. I remember meeting with a contractor to look at cracks in a limestone fountain. He climbed into the basin for a closer look. Normally, I would have been the first one. I stood at the sidewall trying to figure out how to climb up. Where was I going to put my foot? That was the first time I was afraid of falling. I eventually stopped working 2 years ago. I became confused and forgetful. My brain fog worsened. In 2018, I learned that my MS had transitioned into secondary progressive MS. I participated in 2 research studies at NYU Langone. These studies used transcranial direct current stimulation, TDCS, to improve gait and manual dexterity. I started dropping things less often, and my walking improved for a few months after the studies finished. Right now, I'm currently in my 3rd study using TDCS with MRIs. As more people engage in trials like these, the use of TDCS gets closer to availability for clinical treatment to manage MS symptoms. This experience keeps me hopeful that research is getting closer to improving the lives of people with MS. The National MS Society funds studies like these to help those living with MS. The Society is focused on finding a cure, but also on helping those with MS to lead their best lives by offering information, services, and events. I saw a poster about the MS walk in the subway 27 years ago, and I created the AM team with my family. We walk every year, and I'm proud to say that I have personally raised over $93,000, and AM team raised more than $211,000. I never envisioned that my career would morph into full-time MS management. I swim and I take therapeutic horseback riding. I always feel better after these activities, although getting myself out the door is another story. My goal is to maintain my health, bring awareness to this disease, and to help others who battle it. Everything the MS Society does shares this goal, that people like me affected by MS can live their best lives as we stop MS in its tracks, restore what has been lost, and end MS forever. A recent study funded by the Society revealed that nearly 1 million people in the US are living with MS. This is more than twice the number previously reported. The work the Society does is now twice as important, and your support is twice as important. Please join me in making a donation to help the MS Society continue its life-changing work for people living with MS. Consider a gift of $5,000, $2,500, $1,000, $500. If 50 people give $250, we can raise another $10,000. If you take out your phones, you're going to see a text message with a link to give. Thank you, everyone, so much for your support today.